Hi everyone, I'm Andras Horvath, and in today's episode I'm showing you my new car, which I'm really happy about. Well, yes, the Ioniq 6N is my new companion, and since I had the 5N for a long time, I know everything about it, but this car is even closer to my heart because it's slow. I really love sedans. The 5N is obviously an SUV, and I think this car has taken it up another level compared to the Ioniq 5N because Hyundai's engineers have done a lot of fine-tuning on it, and the 5N was already a damn good car. Anyone who's driven it or sat in it knows it's a damn good ride, and it's honestly on the level of a Porsche Taycan, but for less than half the price, and the 6N has managed to evolve even further. I know many people aren't happy with the Ioniq 6 because of its streamliner shape, but I think the 6N has changed a lot. Partly because of the spoilers, and that huge rear wing adds a lot to it, but I think the facelift really fixed the front and the sides of the car. Everything's changed a bit. Obviously it's widened too, just like the 5N. Beautiful spoilers up front with a massive splitter where the air pours in and gets sucked in, and of course it can be opened and closed. Here on the side, a small air deflector that directs the air past the rims. I wasn't that into the forged rims at first, but this design is starting to grow on me now. It's a bit of an aero rim, not much, just a tiny bit, and this 5-pointed star was mainly designed to channel air toward the massive brake discs for cooling. And it works. We recently pushed it hard with Norby Mikelis at the driving camp, and well, it's incredible. So it's actually managed to step up another level compared to the 5N. They've refined the suspension. It's much more capable, for example, on crappy Hungarian roads. This car is much less likely to rattle my kidneys than, say, the 5N. So they've managed to improve in this area too. And besides that, the wheelbase is 3.5 centimeters shorter than the 5Ns, but the car itself is 20 centimeters longer. The center of gravity is much lower, the roof is 9 centimeters lower, and the ground clearance is 6 millimeters lower compared to the 5N. Accordingly, you get a lower center of gravity, higher cornering speeds, and better handling. And honestly, it's mostly the redesigned chassis that's really noticeable. This one also has 650 horsepower, 720 Newton meters of torque. It hits 100 in under 3.2. And at the driving camp, I got 2.99 out of it with a 50% battery. It has an 800-volt battery, an 87 kilowatt-hour battery in this too. So obviously we won't have such a huge range because due to the aero, it really bites into it. It doesn't just push the wind, it bites into the air. Because of that, the car's drag is quite high, even though it's a streamliner sedan, but it's definitely lower than the 5Ns. I'll find that out during long-term testing. I want to take it to the track as well, and supposedly in October, I'm going on an 8-day European road trip. I'll share more info on that, maybe in a short or somewhere else, because it's going to be a hell of a trip. I'll talk more about it later. So back to the car. Beautiful side skirts, and obviously it's got those N-series stripes. And what's also interesting is that this car actually has perhaps the most beautiful and striking paint job I've seen in many years. We could honestly be talking about Mercedes, BMW, or similar brands. But the finish on this car is just spot on, mirror smooth, no orange peel. The metallic shine is gorgeous, and this N blue is just a perfect choice. And well, it has the same door handles, and we actually have a small opening panoramic roof, but the coolest part is that rear wing. Just look at what a magnificent rear wing they've put on here. You could lay out 20 bologna sandwiches on it if you were having a picnic with the car. But the point is, it generates 100 kilograms of downforce, which might sound like a little, but believe me, at high speeds, it makes a huge difference. For instance, I just tested the Denza Z at Goodwood. Check out the video if you haven't seen it yet. Now, that's a 1600 horsepower hypercar with insane performance specs, but on the track during high-speed braking, the rear end of the car was wiggling like this. Even with that big wing on it, it was still very twitchy. It probably still needs some fine-tuning. Seriously, go watch the video if you haven't seen it. But this car, for example, is much more precise to drive than the Denza Z, and well, the 5N was too, and obviously this car has only gotten better. And with the extra downforce and lower center of gravity, it's incredibly cool to drive. How big is the trunk? Who the hell cares? It's however many liters, but who cares when you've got that orange strut bar inside, and of course there's a ton of extra bracing in the front of this car too, just like in the 5N. They shaved off a lot of weight in various areas, but they put it all back in the form of structural reinforcement. The chassis is incredibly stiff, so there's really no body roll or any swaying at all. This is a very rigid car, and that's really good for it if you want to drive it sportily. And we definitely want to drive this car sportily. You've got huge spoilers in the back too, no fake diffuser, although the bottom of the car is completely flat, but they actually handle the downforce with the rear wing here. A bit of that Ioniq Pixel design, Ioniq 6 lettering, but they didn't overdo it. Matte black, the whole thing looks damn good. And well, obviously the rear end might not necessarily click for everyone, but I think with the N version being widened like this, quite a few people might admire it from behind, and they certainly do, because since I've been driving it for a few days, people are constantly staring, stopping me, asking about it, coming over. I don't know. Today we stopped for a coffee and people came over right away, like 5 of them, asking what on earth this thing is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the god of electric cars, the god of electric sports cars. Inside, we get all the usual goodies. In the Ioniq 5N, we already saw all these buttons on the steering wheel, the N button to stiffen and sportify the car, the other N button on the right, which we use to turn on the shifting, the virtual shifting. And I know you'll say this is sacrilege and nonsense, but it's not. Believe me, it's great. And we're about to go for a spin, and I'll show you just how cool it is. Here's our drive mode selector button and the grin button. This orange button, this is the button that gives an extra 50 horsepower, which we almost never need to press because there aren't many scenarios in average driving where we'd need another 50 on top of the 600. I don't usually press it because I don't have to. The center console has changed significantly. The standard Ioniq 6 also had a facelift, of course. And what's also interesting is they put a lot of Alcantara on the roof and here on the sides too. And of course, they kept the wonderful bucket seats, which are completely manual, not motorized. But in return, the seat became lighter and they put this weight reduction back into the bracing. It's incredibly comfortable, just like in the simulator at home. I have a grid Q seat and I sit in it, and you can sit in that for a very long time. What they unfortunately didn't change in the 6N or the 5N either, and I think they really should, is this glossy display here where there are no physical buttons. The Kia EV6, for example, had them, and it's the same group, and that's really great. For example, on a racetrack, it's fine that the AC is automatic, but let's say we start sweating in our helmet. Searching for these touch buttons on a racetrack is pretty much a nightmare, so I'm really sorry they didn't fix this. However, what has changed is the software part. The display is beautiful. The whole dashboard is set in a very nice frame. It looks great with these, well, not carbon fiber inserts, but they look like it, but actually it looks perfectly fine. So the software has changed, and from now on we can record custom racetracks too, which wasn't possible before. For example, we recorded driving camp for the car, showed it where the finish line is, and once we completed a lap, it knew and measured our lap times. And what else has changed is the sound part, the virtual engine sound, which I also know everyone trashes, saying, oh my God, how bad it is and all that, but believe me, it's not. Of course, it could be better, but they've improved it in this car. It's gotten much louder, much more poppy, and it has this little mechanical sound too. So I think we should take it for a gentle spin, because if I really drove this car properly, the police would shoot me. But let's roll for a bit of a joyride, and I'll tell you about the driving experience because it's something quite breathtaking. I don't know how much the sound will be picked up by my lapel mic, but it's much louder than in the 5N and much deeper. There's still this little modulated sound. Listen. The popping. It's much louder now, and if we're just cruising, listen. In 6th gear, say, then we hear a very pleasant and soothing, deep, resonant rumble. I think they nailed it. And if we start to rev it up, it's almost like we're actually hearing an intake sound, kind of like the way it feels when a V8 breathes. And while it's not exactly a V8 sound, it's more like some sort of electric V8 sound. I really can't put it any other way, but honestly, I do think it's gradually getting better. In the 5N, it was just good. Here, it's really great. Now, it still needs a bit of tweaking because like this, in these lower rev ranges, the tachometer is currently showing about 3,000 to 4,000 revolutions per minute, which is just perfect here. If I start to rev it up, then it gets this quite interesting and rather distinctive sound, but honestly, it is not bad, not at all. And everyone says, Oh yeah, it is really kicking its tail out. So naturally, everyone is asking why exactly we need this particular sound in an electric car. Well, let me tell you, it's because it adds to the experience. For those who love driving, the sound is essential. And I'll be honest with you, I really need it in this car too. And honestly, I usually have it on, though you can turn it off with a button if you want, because it's just so much fun. I find myself grinning as it pops like crazy every time I want it to. The sound is just so satisfying, and it always puts a smile on my face. And of course, we feel the gear shifts too. Why have shifts in an electric car when it's just simulated? But it's because when a corner comes up, I know I can take it in third, I can rev it out. If there's no gearbox, we don't really have a point of reference. So we can't just keep checking the speedometer to see how fast we're going. With the shifts, for example, this tight corner is coming up and I'll just downshift once. I'll catch the car's rear end and I can apply the torque in a completely different way. So I think that's the most important thing. Let's slow down a bit. So the main thing is that with the virtual gearbox, we can do the same as with a normal one. We can short shift, we can vary the torque. If I were always driving in sport electric mode, there'd always be infinite torque whenever I floor it. Now watch, I'll put it in 7th and I floored it. But if I put it in, take the second and then floor it, well then the torque is right there exactly where it should be, right at that specific point. And it's like this. A real gas car with an 8-speed gearbox, it gives you that same feel. And then there's the sound, so our brain knows how fast we're going, the RPMs and so on. I'll put it in first and let's see. They've done such a truly great job here that it really gives you the absolute feeling of driving a genuine gasoline car. Of course, it's not quite as perfect as a classic straight 6 or a V8 engine, but honestly, it's very, very close to that experience. And the sound is just one thing, what this car can do on the road and how it puts the power down, and it's all just so effortless. And really, I could go twice as fast here, but obviously I don't want to because of the speed limits. Incredible. This is now, well, maybe the best electric sports car at this price point. I don't know of anything better. I actually just drove the 1600 horsepower Denza, but that was nothing like this. It didn't hug the road like this and felt very heavy, while this feels very light and does exactly what I want. It kicks its tail out just as much as I want it to. The whole thing is amazing. It's like we could go 200 here with total ease. Really. I mean, the brakes are brutal too. Watch this. Brutal. Incredible. The 5N was really damn good too, and they managed to take it up a notch, and they didn't just say, okay, this is fine, let's put the same drivetrain into the Ioniq 6 body. No. These Korean engineers, they really worked on it. Just look at it. Absolutely stunning. Truly absolutely stunning. Oh my God, guys. This is a weapon, but a very precise weapon. I usually say that this much horsepower isn't worth it, and people don't need it because you can't use it all. But the precision is there, you can handle it. It's really, really hard to overdo it, even on a racetrack. Even here, it feels about 500 or 600 kilos lighter than it is. This is a 2200 kilo car, but it feels like 15 or 1600. It hugs the road with effortless ease. The whole thing is unbelievable, and on top of that, there's the sound, the virtual gearbox. I love it. So now you see a very happy man here driving an Ioniq 6N. I'd also like to thank Hyundai for thinking of me and reaching out to ask Andras, would you like to test an Ioniq 6N for a long-term review? I said yes, of course I would. How the hell could I not? I mean, you simply can't turn down an offer like this. And I just step on it a little bit and it's already kicking its tail out. It's just incredible. Well, my plan is to put some miles into this car now and then take it to the track and so on. This was just a little teaser. Thank you so much for watching this episode and for leaving a like. It's so much fun. This car is so much fun. Really, truly, very, very, very much fun.